r/AmItheAsshole. Dr. Mom1212 says, AITA for kicking out my MIL for forcing my child to eat the one thing she dislikes. My husband and I have a daughter, 10F, and she hates mushrooms. The taste, texture, and smell of them she cannot stand. She's not a picky eater by any means, but just doesn't like mushrooms. My MIL lives with us and helps us by watching my daughter when she gets home from school. She makes dinner the nights we are working late for our daughter, as MIL loves to cook, so she ensured us that it would be no trouble for her to make our daughter dinner most nights. My husband and I both work in the medical field, so we have crazy unpredictable schedules and are not home most nights to make dinner. Last night my husband and I both had the night off work and were making dinner together. MIL went out for dinner with friends. Sissy came to us crying saying how she is sick and tired of being starved most nights and if we can please make her dinners instead of MIL. It's very public knowledge that Sissy doesn't like mushrooms, but yet for the past few weeks every single dish that my MIL has made for Sissy has had the main component of mushrooms in it. Portobello mushroom burgers, mushroom risotto, mushroom pasta, etc. These dishes aren't made when either myself or my husband are around, but when we aren't, that's all Sissy is served to eat. She told us that if she politely refuses to eat these dishes, my MIL will tell her to suit herself, but she's not getting any other food the rest of the night, and that she has to outgrow this stupid mushroom hatred. Both my husband and I were extremely upset that our child is going to bed hungry every night due to my MIL only making her dinners with the one ingredient she doesn't like and not allowing her to eat anything else. When MIL got home we confronted her about this. She started going off saying that Sissy needs to grow up and get over this stupid hatred of mushrooms. I told her that she's essentially starving her granddaughter. She disagreed and said it's tough love. She then proceeded to call me and shit mother for prioritizing my career over my child and helping her get over this dislike towards a vegetable. I told her to get out of my house because she will not disrespect me like that. She ended up leaving, but had some nasty things to say to me on the way out. My husband is 100% on my side and feels that his mother is out of line. We've been getting non-stop messages from my two souls and my MIL calling us every name in the book for kicking her out, and that my daughter needs to get over herself. AITA? Irene says, these dishes aren't made when either myself or my husband are around, but when we aren't, that's all Sissy is served to eat. Your MIL doesn't understand that it's perfectly okay to have different tastes than someone else. She thinks she's broadening her food choices. From what you say, her food choices are plenty broad, so this is a power move, pure and simple. She's going to make her love mushrooms or else. Bottom line, your child, your house, your rules. NTA. Arkirash says, I disliked mushrooms my whole childhood because in kindergarten they forced me to eat this disgusting mushroom soup. My whole childhood I went to the woods with my grandma to gather some, but I didn't eat them and was never forced. Then someday, when I was around 16 to 18, I tried them again and surprise, I suddenly started to like them. Now I love them. If I would have been forced to eat them my whole childhood, I would still hate them probably. Edit. I want to thank you all for answering. This proves my theory that many food aversions are built from being forced to eat stuff as a child. Some we manage to overcome, some we don't. Point is, don't force your children. Murderbut_of_revere says, I always hated mushrooms when I was a kid. Sometime in my 30s I realized that it wasn't the taste I hated, it was the texture/consistency. Somehow both slimy and spongy. So when a recipe called for mushrooms I started mincing them very small so that I can enjoy the flavor while skipping out of the texture. What the Fox Writes says. NTA. Your MIL is deliberately tormenting your child. She knows what she's doing is wrong because she doesn't do it when you or your husband are around. It's not tough love, it's child abuse, and every day you allow her to watch your child in your absence is another opportunity for that abuse to continue. She's been doing this for weeks. You should have kicked her out weeks ago. Your daughter isn't getting the food she needs. She's a child, her body needs to grow. Childhood malnutrition can have permanent deleterious effects: loss of stature, lesser educational attainment, lower lifetime earnings. Take action now. I would ask if your mill is some sort of mushroom acolyte set on forcing your daughter to consume mushrooms and worship the great portobello, but she's not knowledgeable enough about mushrooms. They are not vegetables, they are fungi. r/AmItheAsshole. I can't pick sides says. AITA for changing the locks and having a key made for both leasees. I rent out the bottom half of a duplex to a married couple. Today when I got home from work, the husband was standing on his stoop and sort of waved me over. I went over to his side. Our driveways and entrances are on different sides of the house, and asked what was up. He asked if I changed the locks. I said no, and I tried my key. It didn't work. This freaked me out, and he said he thought his wife did it. I asked why she would, and he said she was mad at him. I called his wife, and she picked up. She said she was at work, but she would talk to me when she got back. I said she needed to come back with the new keys right away. She asked if her husband was there, and I said yes. She said not to let him in. I went out and bought new locks. I entered through the basement and unlocked the door for the husband, and he helped me switch out the locks. I explained that the price of the new locks was coming out of their deposit. And he said he understood. I made copies of the keys and gave him a set and called the wife to tell her she could pick her set up from me and explained about the security deposit. She flipped at me for letting the husband in and giving him keys. I explained that he is on the lease and I was fulfilling a legal obligation. She said that was BS, and I made a choice, and it was a bad one. She called me out for being a woman who doesn't support other women. She said her husband cheated, and I was helping him escape consequences. I said I couldn't get involved in their marriage, and reminded her to come pick up her keys. She called me a biatch and hung up. I asked my sister for input, and she also said I was an ass for helping out a cheater. I feel like I can't pick sides, because I have a legal and moral obligation to abide by the terms of our contract and provide both of them with access to the bottom half of the duplex. Am I an asshole for not supporting other? Leathered says. NTA. It's none of your business if one of them cheated or not. How anyone can think it's acceptable to change the locks on a rental property is beyond me. I can't pick sides says. So audacious, right? Cowet says. In fact, it is a matter of local laws. In my country, a tenant is allowed to change the locks, provided he puts back the former ones when moving out. So the idea in itself is not crazy, but you need to check if you are allowed to do it or not. Luxon says. NTA, it varies from place to place, but in a lot of places/states it is illegal for a tenant to change the locks without the owner's permission. Either way, as you were already thinking, as the landlord, it is not your place or responsibility to act as their marriage counselor or referee, and since he's on the lease, he is allowed to go in the house. Note, if you don't already have it in your lease, next time you have a tenant sign a lease, include a clause saying that they cannot change the locks without your permission. In a lot of places, that is the law anyways, but it is good to have it in writing with their signature. I can't pick sides says. That is in their lease, and technically I can evict them for it, but since they agreed to eat the costs of the new locks, I'm not going to. I'm writing up a document for them to sign acknowledging they won't get the full deposit back. Luxon says. Good call to get that in writing. I'm a lawyer, and I always tell people get it in writing, otherwise it's just your word against this. Regardless, definitely not your responsibility or place to get in the middle of their marriage. They can get a marriage counselor or divorce lawyers, but not your problem. Callie the Blaze says, NTA. She changed the locks on a rental property. That's only acceptable to do if your contract specifically allows it, or you have permission from the landlord. She took a conflict between her and her husband and roped you into it. She has plenty of perfectly legal ways to express her hurt and anger, but this wasn't one of them. That's all for this video. Was it good? I know not, for I'm a robot. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. This video is the product of an automated process.